I went and met my wife. I asked her to tell me all the details. She was crying and seemed remorseful and said she would do anything to make it up to me. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, My Wife Cheated on Me with Her Girlfriend and Her Husband. And a big shout out to Nashad for sending me this story. And guys, this story is about a guy who is now divorcing his wife, a wife of 28 years, she's 50 years old now, after she had a wild escapade, if you will, with her friend and her friend's husband. And you're going to see this guy, as you can imagine, just is beside himself when he finds out what happens here. But here's the crazy part. His wife has been on dialysis for quite some time. She needs to have a kidney transplant. She's waiting for the kidney. And obviously this guy has been there for her day in, day out to take care of her, help her out, everything you can imagine that a good husband would do. And this is how she thanks him. And wait till you see in this story, guys, when it comes out about what happened, what she does. Do you think for 1 second that she takes ownership of her actions? If your answer is no, pat yourself on the back. No, she'll end up blaming everyone and everything but him, but herself. And never ceases to amaze me the whole joke about women and accountability and all that. And this is yet another example, guys, that you just have to be absolutely so careful. And you could be married for decades, and maybe it was great all along, and all it takes is just one evening to screw it all up, and you can't stay with a cheater. And you're going to see right here the guy's handling right, even though understandably he's heartbroken. So it starts off, says here, last weekend my wife, a 50-year-old female, went out for drinks and dinner with her best friend. I'm going to stop it right there real quick and say, hey, if she's waiting for a kidney transplant, should she really be drinking? I know it's not the liver, but still. This is a planned dinner and not out of the ordinary. She looked amazing, all dressed up. She was going to take the night off from dialysis, which is a welcome treat for her. Can you take a night off? The plan was for her to go to dinner and then go back to her friend's house for a while and then come home. They went out to dinner, but it took longer than expected, which pushed back the time that she was going to come home. I told them maybe she should spend the night and I could bring her clothes or bring her home and we could pick up the car the very next day. She said she has some stuff in the car, and I have clean gym clothes, which would work in a pinch. So you can see this husband, he's happy that she's getting a night out. She's on the dialysis. Obviously, that ain't fun. He's willing to help her and all that. Good guy. Well, watch how his kindness is repaid. They took Uber into the city and had dinner and drinks and took an Uber back to her friend's house. We stayed in communication all evening, and she sent photos. Not those kind of photos, guys. We chatted and I told her good night and we said we loved each other, and she did have a few drinks and I could tell she was a bit tipsy. She comes home the next day in the afternoon, immediately came in, showered, and put the clothes in the washing machine. I found it a little unusual because I generally do the laundry and she didn't wash anything else. Smack! Make her do the laundry, goddammit. SSM is so sexist. She said she spilled something on my shirt and she wanted to clean it so I wouldn't get mad. After the shower, she went down and pretty much slept until 8 p.m. in the evening. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She's always tired, and doing a treatment compounds her tiredness. So you can see already some things aren't quite adding up. But still, he's, being patient, not making an issue of things. The next day, she said that we needed to talk. She started crying, shocker, and told me that her night didn't go as planned. She said that once they got back to her girlfriend's house, that they had some more to drink and did some substances. Again, back to the whole she's on dialysis and waiting for a kidney transplant. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think she's supposed to be drinking, let alone doing drugs. Won't that get in the way of the transplant? I mean, I'm sure there's rules to this whole thing. Which I thought was weird, which I thought was weed. It turns out I was way off. She said they did smoke some weed and had some white substance. You can use your imagine there, guys. And maybe MDMA. I was floored when she said that she did, coke and MDMA. Until recently, she never smoked or did edibles. So, before it comes out, what eventually comes out, I'd have a major problem that my wife, who is waiting for a kidney transplant, is doing the substances, let alone the fact that she's doing these substances at all. I'd be like, this is not the woman I married. I assume she was crying because of the drugs. She continued to say that her friend and her were dancing and listening to music. She said that when everything kicked in, she was having a really good time. She said that when they started talking about husbands and sex and things they wanted to experience. She said they were just goofing around and her friend kissed her. Okay, here we go. And you guys can probably guess, it wasn't her fault. It was the drugs. It was the alcohol. It was the big cocktail of all that shit. Never in a million years would I have expected her to kiss another woman. She had another friend that wanted to have a threesome with my wife and me. What is it with this girl? What is it with these friends that she chooses? She's fooling around with this girl, and then you're going to see what happens here. And another friend wanted to have a threesome with her. Something tells me that this isn't the first time, this isn't her first rodeo. This is just probably his first time finding out about said rodeos. My wife says she would never be with another woman with or without me, and I was okay. It didn't bother me, and I actually had a little smile. She said it gets worse. She said that she was turned on by the kissing and touching, and she said that things went further. Okay, sweetheart, pack your shit and get the fuck out. I've been a loyal, good husband to you all these years. I've been with you during the dialysis and all the treatments and being there because I guarantee she was an emotional roller coaster. I don't want to hear anymore. I don't need to hear anymore. Pack your shit, go to your mother's, and get the fuck out. Now she had me curious. I was more mad that she did drugs just because she is on dialysis. She said that things moved into the bedroom and that her friend's husband was there watching the whole thing unfold. Oh, what a coincidence that her husband just happened to be there. Once they moved into the bedroom, the husband went from a viewer to a participant. She said that the husband was focused on his wife, but then his wife started to put her husband's hand on my wife. My wife said that she pushed his hand away, but her friend was persistent. So you already can see the stage is being set to put the blame on her friend. The friend kissed me. On the husband, the wife put his hand on hers. But watch this. She doesn't exactly help herself when she reveals more information. I asked why she didn't stop and call me. She said that she felt like she was watching someone else's life unfold. Wasn't me. It was the drugs. It was the other me that did that. She said she felt fairly helpless. She said that her friend and her husband started kissing her and touching her, and it felt amazing. Hang on. Didn't she just say that she felt helpless? But all of a sudden, within one sentence, it now felt amazing. Like fireworks are going off inside her. We've been together and the only partners for 28 years. She basically admitted to having sex with her friend and the husband. She said they would stop and cuddle and then continue. Take a 5-minute break to have refreshments, to recharge. Doesn't sound like, again, the cuddling afterwards, doesn't sound like someone who's in a dire need of help, who's suffering here. Then my wife had sex with the husband while her friend lay there sleeping and passed out. Unprotected sex. Again, at this point, get the F out. So again, this doesn't sound like she's really being coerced into this. They had sex a couple of times and the husband went and slept in the spare bedroom afterwards. Oh, well, what a gentleman. When everyone woke up and sobered up in the morning is when the regret kicked in. The wife had no idea that my wife had sex with her husband and sex without her participation. My wife said that the couple had never done anything like this before and it wasn't planned. Yeah, bullshit. They all, and I say all, including his wife, planned this. I called BS on her friends. Why would they have the substances if they didn't like to party somewhat? My wife has been friends with her friend for almost 30 years. We've been out with them hundreds of times. They'd never given any indication of any of this because they're master liars. They're masters at hiding all this. That's what's going on here. And I have a very hard time believing in the 30 years, 3 decades, which is probably the longer than a lot of guys that watch me here are of age. You can't tell me that stuff hasn't happened before. Again, back to the whole thing that her other friend wanted to have a threesome as well. I could have handled some of this, but I can't handle it all. I left her there and stayed in a hotel for a couple of days. Why don't you kick her out? She called me hundreds of times and left texts. She started being remorseful and blamed the drugs and the drinking. It's not my fault. It was the drugs. It was the alcohol. Oh yeah, well, who voluntarily took the drugs, took the alcohol, which, by the way, you shouldn't be doing, given that if you're waiting any day for the kidney transplant. Are you freaking kidding me? At least own up to it. Yeah, she told him, but still. She said that she felt powerless in life with needing a kidney transplant and having to do this dialysis every day. I told her I partly understood, but she betrayed me and threw away our life together. Right. That's irrelevant at this point. You still chose to do the alcohol, you chose to do the drugs, and you did all that, and I don't want to hear about that. And sure, the whole being on dialysis and waiting for a kidney and all that, I'm sure that is stressful as hell. And can make people lose it. But still, there have been people out there that have been through this, and they didn't betray the one person that has been by their side every moment of the suffering. No, it's not an excuse. Her friend then started calling me and begging me to forgive my wife. You can set your watch to this shit, huh? If the friends always call. I'm surprised her friend was yelling at him. She said that none of this was planned and it just happened. Bullshit. She said that her and her husband regret the whole night. Yeah, I'm sure he feels so bad. I went and met my wife. I asked her to tell me all the details. She was crying and seemed remorseful and said she would do anything to make it up to me. This is all right out of the Hobag handbook. I started pressing her on SCX with the husband. The more I pressed, the more detail she provided. And the more I knew that she really enjoyed it. Hang on, is this the same girl that made out to be that he was forcing himself onto her? But now, obviously, her actions demonstrated that she was enjoying every minute of it, and it wasn't that way. She said her friend would be open to having a threesome with me and her to right the wrong. Oh my God. After all this is your way of showing how much you care? This is just reinforcing why you should end it with her. This is how she thinks. I don't think I could bring myself to do the following with it as well. I'm done with her, and I want to file divorce. Yes, bro. You have every right to. I meet with a lawyer next week. I'm not sure where she will live after this. She doesn't work and has end-stage kidney disease. We have a house that we would have to sell. She would probably get some of the proceeds and maybe some alimony. We have a college-age child together. I feel gutted. So that's the end of his story. Before I get on to the comments, and let me tell you, nobody's feeling bad for her. Here's the deal. He said she may get some of the proceeds and she may get some alimony. Dude, if she doesn't work and she's been dependent on you and she has this, I guarantee you she's going to get a whole lot of alimony. 28 years married, and she's going to get a whole lot of proceeds and a lot. But you know what? One could make the argument that, well, maybe stay together, but, have nothing to do with her. Because the likelihood is she may end up biting the dust, and then you get to keep everything, as opposed to getting divorced and her getting half the thing. But that's whatever. But the point is, he can't be with her. And he's going to take a hit. End of freaking story. But it's better than being with someone like that. And I find it impossible to believe that in 30 years, with this friend of hers who's into this lifestyle, and her other friend, I might add, who's bringing up the whole threesome thing, that nothing's happened before. I just don't buy it. End of story. So this guy who's been a good husband, this is how she thanks him. And I do not accept for a second the drugs and the alcohol, which is always the excuse. And then they come crying and say, I'm so sorry. It wasn't me. It was the drugs. It was the alcohol. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make it up to you and offer you threesomes. So this guy needs to talk to the lawyer, find out his options, and hopefully he isn't crucified too much in the divorce process. But he can't be with her. And this guy needs to tell their kid immediately. Don't let her control the narrative, as well as any family and friends and all that. That's what I think. And he'll have to take it one day at a time. But he's 50 years old. I'm assuming he's about the same age as her. He still has a lot of life to live, and he doesn't have to deal with that bullshit. But this poor guy. All these years married to her, thought, and just like that, it's over. But I, again, don't believe this was a one-time incident. Now some comments here. One guy says here, first of all, what kind of friends feed their sick friend alcohol and drugs, especially one needing a kidney? Second of all, can we just talk about how she willingly went along with everything from the start, regardless of what state she was in? The whole night was full of some very bad decisions. That's putting it mildly. On another note, I am sorry for you. You loved her enough to stick by her side for so many years, and her actions showed she didn't care for you at all. I hope you find some peace, be it with her or without her. Another one says here, I think this is from a woman. He or she, I'm not sure who, says, I'm 27, I was on dialysis for 1.5 years, and I just got my kidney transplant. With all the feelings of desperation and the deep sadness I felt, I would never even consider doing what she did and then go blame it on my health problems. Wow, this was a crazy read. Sorry you're going through with that. She's losing a huge support system that is needed when going through dialysis. She's going to think about this for the rest of her life. Well, depending on how things, if she doesn't get that kidney because she was doing drugs and alcohol, like that's, if they're not allowed to give it to her until her system's clear, I don't know what, she ain't going to be living that long. Another guy says here, it's pretty wild that a 50-year-old on dialysis would have such poor judgment as to go out drinking and then accept Coke and MDMA. Well, people will make the argument that she was just losing it because of the stress. It being spontaneous might be plausible since she was on a drug cocktail, but it still happened. And it still hurt you that she enthusiastically did it over and over again. That's hard to erase. A divorce seems like a reasonable response. It can be done as adults. Couples counseling can actually help manage everyone's emotions if you go with it stated intent of facilitating the divorce. That might help further prevent dumpster fires. In other words, a very ugly divorce. Both of you could do well with individual counseling to grieve the loss of the life that you knew it. And last one, and it's long but funny. This guy says here, she effed up at the end of her life. Her health isn't on you anymore. It doesn't even factor into the equation 1%. There's no coming back from this. You need to block everyone involved, and when people ask you why you're divorcing, you tell a shortened version of what you posted. It'll be difficult to leave her, especially when she's medically vulnerable, but she can't blame drugs, and she can't erase the hurt no matter how many threesomethings she offers. By the way, that's really gross of her to use SCX to even the score when that's what obliterated your heart. Exactly. It goes to show you where her mind is. If you wanted to be petty and exact some revenge on all three people, and I'm not saying I would do this, or you should do this, you could take your wife up on the threesomething and then just ask her to watch you and F the girl. And then leave and say you're blocking them all and never contact you again. And if they do, you'll get a restraining order. Again, that's probably not healthy or realistic, but it was therapeutic for me to write. I'm angry for you. And it might be a thought that gives you some satisfaction. Well, I do not think that he should go do that, but that is kind of funny. So, but anyhow, guys, pay attention to the red flags. And just, again, those of you that think about wanting to get married one day, be aware sometimes this shit takes decades and it does happen. But it's a poor guy, but you can't be with someone like this. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And also, guys, if you find a good story you'd like to share, definitely email me. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.